Hello there and welcome to Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Jedel Kabir. I'm super pumped that you've joined us for political conversations, simple, truthful and biased. I'm here with Professor Herman Manyora, political analyst, strategist and commentator. Sir, how are you doing?
Fine.
It's a beautiful Sunday. We're having this discussion. How was the week for you?
It's good. Enjoying my cup of tea. People are hitting me on Twitter that I've been taking tea at Citizen TV, where I've never taken a cup of tea.
When are you going back? You're in your media break. When are you going back to TV and radio?
I thought I would, but today I was talking to a friend of mine, Edward, and the way he's discussing this election, I have a problem. I will have a problem going to the media for a little while.
We're still speaking about the election?
Yeah, in a foolish way. You know, it's,
how? So what was
the
this?
idea of I told you, we told you.
Oh.
Come on.
You don't want to get into that?
No.
What is your assessment, though, of Azimio coming out after the judgment was delivered by the Judiciary, and Azimio has come out calling it hot air now that we have read all of it? What is your reading from the judgment, 100 pages of a document of the ruling?
When I saw 133 pages, my initial reaction was it looked that's not sufficient space to exhaustively determine a matter of that weight. Yeah, I thought you require a lot more space than that, or more than double that space.
Okay.
Even to lay the foundation for your case. So I gave them the benefit of doubt, and I perused through. Had intended to go through it, then make an analysis blow by blow. But my initial reaction when I just ran through it and looked at the recommendations, I found it was wanting in many ways.
So
it was a weak judgment.
Are you in a place where you'd agree with Azimio that there is no need of this Supreme Court bench as it is now for the country when you look at democracy?
I think to be fair to ourselves, we looking back at where we have come from and where we had reached and the dangers we went through in 2007, we thought we needed these institutions. We have given ourselves some of the best institutions in the world. But I think the challenge we have are the men and women in those institutions. That is something we are yet to do.
The men and women?
Yeah, I'm not convinced we have the sophistication required of a Supreme Court.
Then what are we looking at in the near future? If you say that, does this mean...
My recommendation will be, one, we reconstitute the Supreme Court and have 9 judges. With 4 judges, we must bite the bullet, swallow the pride. 5 from Kenya, 4 from the Commonwealth. That's my suggestion for some times. Yes.
Now when you say that...
And then, we must also have a serious conversation about the role of the Supreme Court in a presidential petition. Because 2013, 2017, and now, and even in BBI, they are saying 14 days is not enough. Then in my understanding, they don't understand the role of a Supreme Court in a presidential petition.
Okay.
The players don't understand. Because when they say they want 30 days like in BBI, can you prosecute a presidential petition in 30 days? The answer is no. Even 1 year may be very difficult.
Okay.
Yeah. Doing 6 months of a parliamentary petition. Yeah?
Yeah.
A petition for parliament. Even 6 months is not, they do it. A presidential petition, if it were to be approached in the manner these people want to approach it, 1 year may not be enough. So they have to ask themselves, why the 14 days? The moment they answer that question, why 14 days, then they will be able to deliver.
Before they ask themselves, maybe you can give them
they don't understand.
Give them the answer then. Why 14 days? And what does this mean? Because you said earlier, before they gave their ruling, you said this ruling should be more political.
Yeah.
That's what you said. And now when you look at the country, it seems politically stable. Do you think they took that route?
You see, the day they distill the issues and they identify the 9 issues is the day I realized the Supreme Court would want to run this case like a normal court, like a magistrate's court. And I said it, like a high school, like a high court, which is wrong. Now, when you take the case completely within the legal framework, like a high court or a magistrate court, then you are running into problems. Number one, you don't have the time for that case to be processed in 14 days. Secondly, you are putting yourself in a situation where it will become so clear where the case must go. You have either to nullify or not to nullify. And yet, in my understanding, the Supreme Court being a political court, you leave yourself room to nullify or not to nullify without unnecessarily tying yourself the way they had tied themselves. So if you tie yourself in that manner and then rule the way they ruled, certainly people will have issues with you.
Okay.
Because even the questions you asked yourself in court, they were not answered.
Yeah.
The questions raised by the defense, by the petitioners, the issue of the serial number of the kids, the issue of the footprints, they have not been refuted. There's a legal term for it.
Yeah.
They have not. The court cannot go behind and find otherwise. So they are tying themselves.
Yeah.
This is a political court that must make a political decision on the basis of many factors. Looking at the country, between nullifying and not nullifying, then you just use whatever evidence you have been given to nullify. Or whatever arguments from the defense, from the respondents, not to nullify.
What would you tell the president now that we're having this conversation about democracy and the role of the Supreme Court?
Yes.
He coming out, remember, he's one of the first executive orders to bring judges in. What would you tell this president, this route of presidency when it comes to dealing with this judiciary? Because he says he wants to strengthen these institutions so that they can get to a place where they're not an arm dependent on another arm of government.
But what the evidence we are seeing so far is of a judiciary that seems to be bending towards the executive. There's something doing the rounds when the president was opening parliament or whatever it is, one of these things they do.
Yes.
The judges were lining up with the politicians to receive the president, and even the Grand Mullah is saying, look, and Orengo agrees. So the judiciary we will have to look at our judiciary afresh. Any constitutional amendment process or attempt must address the shortcomings of the judiciary all the way to the Supreme Court. Because the Supreme Court, in my view, so far, has failed the test.
I told you earlier, we were speaking about a political court, and I said we are in a place where we feel like the country is politically stable. Yeah. Are we treading on dangerous grounds when you look at the judiciary and what you say inclining themselves to the executive?
Very dangerous, very dangerous.
How so?
Because you see, the judiciary must be seen to be independent and actually be independent. So the moment there are perception that is not, that's dangerous to the country. Because you see, let me inform Justice Martha Koome and the judiciary in general. No Kenyan will take a presidential petition to the Supreme Court the way it is. Nobody.
The next election, you say, it's going to end at the IBC?
Nobody will. Nobody will. No normal person will. Just like I can assure you, if nothing is done between now and 2027, far less than 10 million people will vote. That's where we have pushed the country. Less than 10 million people will vote. Instead of 20 million people voting. This year, 14 million people voted. Instead of 18 million people, because 2017, 15 million voted. This year, 14 million voted. Instead of going up, it's going
down.
Less than 10 million people will vote in 2027 if nothing changes.
Okay.
And in the same vein, nobody will take a case to the Supreme Court.
Oh.
Yeah, so now, that is dangerous. Because why did we give ourselves the Supreme Court? Why did we give ourselves the Supreme Court? It's born out of 2007 and 2008. So far, the Supreme Court has not lived up to the expectations. They have not understood their role in terms of stopping obviously evident trouble ahead.
Who should be the
Because I released a video saying, if I was the Supreme Court, I will ask myself, to nullify or not to nullify? Which is which? And I gave examples. And I demonstrated, say, to nullify the election is like two teams going for penalties. First of all, whatever arguments and accusations, oh, the referee had been bought, the VAR machine was tampered with, anything, disappears the moment you go for penalty shootout. It is you and the goalkeeper and the goal. Hakuna referee amenunuliwa hapo. Mtu yako ndio ile. Mpira ndio iweka ndani. Unaweka juu.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
Secondly, if there were accusations that Ruto had stolen this election, you cannot prepare to steal an election within 60 days. Stealing an election, you must plan earlier, because the days of stealing ballot stuffing and stealing boxes and running away are over. You steal through manipulation of the systems. And that cannot be done in 60 days. So if you nullify the election and people go to the field, if Ruto wins, you cannot claim he has won because he stole the election. Because there will be no time to plan to steal the election.
Okay.
So I said, if the Supreme Court knew its mandate, knew its role, and understood the country, they would have ordered a repeat election. Of course, they would have looked at some of the challenges and mitigated so that we don't end up the way where we ended in 2017, where you nullify but proceed to do nothing.
Okay.
And ask Raila to go for the same repeat election. They would have done something. That way, at least in terms of people believing an election can be held in this country and somebody can win fairly, it would have happened. But today, Justice Mother Koome must know, more than half of the population of this country believe this election was stolen. They believe the judiciary has not been fair. They believe the Supreme Court didn't render a just judgment. That is what people believe.
You know,
And that is dangerous for the country.
I wanted to finish
Yes.
up with asking you, I'm saying the country is stable.
Yes.
Is this mood
But
not
stable is deceptive. This is very deceptive. More than half of this country is angry. Angry is me who talks to people. People are angry, but it's bottled inside. It is dangerous for any country
so
to have such a serious size of the population. Angry, and the anger is bottled inside. So we've gotten to a point where people are basically given up on democracy, on elections, on the Supreme Court. But that's not enough. They have not just given up and thrown their hands in the air. A big chunk of those who have given up are angry. And any small thing happening in the country, you can set the country ablaze.
What's a must do? Of course, he's the victor,
Yes.
William Ruto, now
Yes.
the president. What's a must do for him when you say there are people whose anger has been bottled up? What
Yes.
is a must do for him before the
To
next
try
election?
and bring the country together, whichever way he can. Mainly through inclusion. You know, there's nothing that time can't heal. Even this anger, time can heal it.
Yeah.
But you must find a way of playing the game in such a way the anger begins to go away.
Oh.
Kenyans feel they are part of it. You make as many people part of government as is possible. And the pronouncement, they are still, Ruto and these people are still talking as if that. That's why you were asking why I'm not going to TV.
Yeah.
People are talking as if we are sitting in an election. The president is still engaged in populist moves and drama. The president is the president of the Republic of Kenya now. He must behave as such. He should not go out to please people, to be populist. He should avoid drama and work for the people of Kenya. And while working for the people of Kenya must feel they are part of
The country.
If you look at the cabinet, it doesn't send that signal. We hope as he continues to form government, because government is still taking shape. I hope you'll be aware that as you constitute government, as government takes shape, as many Kenyans as possible should feel they are part of that government.
Okay. And that's a must do for him.
It's a must
for
do.
the country to be stable.
And it's not even about him, it's about this country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning into a political conversation. I do hope you have yourself a lovely week ahead. Let's meet next week. Goodbye for now.